Dex was up, looking for the source of the scream before he was fully awake. He knew who was screaming, and Dunstan was on his way from the other side of the room too, as the other kids started waking up. Masha was thrashing around, her covers snaked around her legs and arms, screaming as she fought against the imaginary enemies. The other kids were standing around, not sure what to do, but this was Dex's nightly routine at this point. He pulled the blankets around her, making her into a human burrito, and shushed her as he rocked. Dex was aware of how ridiculous he looked, but he didn't care. Masha wasn't getting enough sleep, and it was starting to show. "I swear it's every night now," Dunstan said, sitting down next to him as he soothed her. "She's gonna miss class at this rate if—" "Hey, you guys think you can keep your friend from screaming?" came a familiar snide voice. "She's keeping all the normal people awake." They glowered over at Chandra, her bed still next to the little girl's, and she put her hands up and rolled over. Despite being kept up, Dex didn't think she looked all that tired. Chandra appeared to be getting enough sleep, despite the nightly screaming sessions, and that was surprising. Must be nice, he thought, to be able to function off a few hours. "Catch some Z's, Dun," Dex said. "I'll lay with her tonight." "You sure? You did it last night, too. I don't mind taking a shift." "I'm sure. They just need my body for training. Your mind and her mind need to be sharp for lessons. Get some sleep. I got this." Dunstan nodded, heading back to bed as Dex tried to get comfortable in the little girl's tiny bed. The bed was hardly large enough for one normal-sized person, and Dex found it difficult to get comfortable with so little space. He was tired, but the frame pushed at him in painful ways as he tried to settle. Masha was snoring already, the nightmares gone, but Dex doubted this would be the last one tonight. "Gonna come keep me company next, big fella?" Chandra teased. "I'm sure I could make some room for you." Dex gave her the finger and she rolled over, cackling like a hen as his eyes got heavy. The nightmares had started about a week ago, and they weren't getting any better. After 2 nights, Dex had suggested that she talk with the minders about it, but they were no help. They had suggested more activity before bed, changing her diet, even that it was a result of her powers beginning to grow, but their solutions offered nothing but more of the same. Dex didn't know what to do, but it was starting to affect everyone. He had seen some dark looks thrown Masha's way, and even their little circle of friends had cast unfriendly eyes on her. She let out a muffled moan as she shifted in her swaddling blanket, and Dex held her tight until she stilled. He had to get some sleep. Class started in 3 hours, and it would be another day of exercise. He was snoring before he knew it, and thankfully, Masha managed to sleep through the night. She almost cried as her hand struck the glass of juice and sent it spilling across the table. Dunstan couldn't even be mad about it, and they got it cleaned up pretty quickly. "I'm sorry. I'm so clumsy." "No, you're exhausted," Dex said. "You need to talk to the minders and get some sleep. You can't keep going like this." "You guys do," Masha said, stifling a yawn as she missed her mouth with a forkful of eggs. "You and Dunstan get up every time I have a nightmare, so the least I can do is push through this." Dex sipped the coffee he'd gotten, wondering if there was a way he could take it with him. He was better at hiding it, but he was just as tired as Masha. Dex was sort of used to being tired, though. So much of living on the street had been sleeping somewhere till they put you out, at least until they found the clubhouse. There had been periods where he would snatch an hour here, a couple of hours there, and then get back on the move again so the cops didn't catch them. "Do you remember what the dreams are about, at least?" Dunstan asked, not for the first time. "What's it matter?" Dex asked, trying to keep the exasperation out of his voice. "If we knew what caused it, maybe we can fix it." "Doesn't matter anyway. I don't I don't remember them. It's like they come on so quickly that I just can't remember what they're about. I'm sorry, guys. I know this has got to be annoying." "It's cool," Dex said. "We'll get through this." The bell rang as they walked off, Britt and Jenny saying they would keep an eye on her. But Dex stopped Dunstan. "Need a favor," he said, Ryan waiting by the door for him as Dunstan looked at the bigger boy questioningly. "If you need me to sit with her tonight, That ain't it. I want you to talk to Dr. Hammershoal about her dreams." Dunstan's face scrunched a little more. "The little doctor? You think he can help?" "Man, I hope so. I'm getting pretty ragged, and I can see she is too. She needs some relief, some sleep, something, or she's going to start breaking down. We need answers. If he has them, then we need his help." Dunstan thought about it, nodding as he thought about the skills the doctor had said he'd had in his time here. "I'll ask," Dunstan said, and the two bumped fists as they headed off towards their daily trials. Rebecca winced as the scent of evergreen filled her nose. This was how they had decided to test her abilities, since she couldn't just manifest visions on demand. Well, this was one of them. It had started with different colors, then color patterns, sounds, a brain scan, certain words and phrases, more sounds, another brain scan, and now smells. They had a bunch of those plastic film canisters, and she was instructed to take the lid off and inhale deeply to see if it elicited a reaction. So far, nothing, but Rebecca was hopeful. If this didn't work, then the minders had mentioned chemical trials, and Rebecca was a little afraid that they would turn her into a zombie or a speed freak or something. She wondered if Dr. Hammershoal had anything to do with this, and that filled her with an old anger. The little doctor had been very careful not to get too close to her, and never to be alone with her. He could clearly see how angry she was at him, blamed him for her being here, and with good reason. It was his fault, she felt certain of it, and if she ever got the chance, she'd take that anger out on the tiny man. She coughed as the smell of cigarettes assaulted her, shaking her head as she tried to catch her breath. She'd had visions in the 3 weeks since she'd arrived, but they had been different from the ones back at school. Those dreams, or visions, or whatever, had been about her. These visions had been about the kindergarten. In them, she was like a ghost or something, floating around and observing people as they went about their day-to-day lives. She saw herself a few times as she walked with Gerald, and watching them move filled her with a deep and unquenchable hunger. It was strange to watch them walking, talking, thinking, living, and also feel the drool as it ran down your chin. "Anything?" asked the minder, making notes on her clipboard as Rebecca smelled. "Just a headache. Cigarettes always make me feel a little nauseous." She said, scribbling something. "Gerald, are you having any luck?" Gerald shrugged, not really sure what to tell her. "Not really. Strings are still there, and the blue one just stretches off through the wall." She nodded, flipping a page and making another note. Rebecca picked up another one and smelled. Yuck. Trash can water. She gagged a little as she put it down, not really sure what they were looking for here. "You know," Rebecca said, "sometimes there is a smell before it happens." "Yeah?" the minder said, looking intently. "It's like the smell before a lightning strike, I guess. It's hard to... Ozone? I guess," she said, not really knowing the word. "Maybe that's something we can work with," the minder said, more to herself than Rebecca. Rebecca thought back to the dreams or visions she'd had last night, and wondered what the lady would make of those. It had been another one of those floaty dreams, but her course took her through the empty halls, as opposed to the full ones. She floated through the dark game room, the cafeteria, the library, and finally to the dormitories. She had heard the little girl screaming from the hallway, and when she came swooping in, she saw the little bundle of bedclothes writhing on her mattress. There was a red crown around her head, a dancing neon halo of terribleness, and she woke up suddenly to hear the little girl being comforted by her friends. Maybe it meant something, maybe it didn't, but Rebecca supposed there had to be something to it, or why would it show it? "Ma'am," Gerald said, and the minder looked up hopefully. "May I go to the bathroom?" Her face fell. "Yeah, Gerald, go ahead." He gave Rebecca a strange look as he left, but she put it out of her mind. Whatever he was actually up to, she supposed he would tell her later. She went back to her smells, hoping for one that would give her some control over this strange and often frightening ability. "Okay, Dunstan, what do you see?" "There's a field. He's playing baseball. No, not baseball. It's just catch. He and another kid are playing catch. The kid is his friend. No, it's more than that. They're dating? Boyfriends? I don't know, but he likes the other boy a lot." Dunstan hadn't really wanted to touch the glove, but as the vision started, he had slipped it on and was popping his fist into the pocket of the glove as he saw more. "They're kissing now. Gross. But they like it. They like each other, and to them, it's good. They have to be careful. If someone sees them, then they could be in trouble. But now someone has seen them, and he's shouting at them." "Who is it?" Hammarskjöld asked. "Who sees them?" He's a priest. No, a minister. He's a minister for the boys' church. The boys, Presbyterian. That's not right, but I don't know the word." "Presbyterian?" the little doctor supplied, and Dunstan nodded. Yeah, I think that's it. The minister, he's real angry. He says the boys are sinning, and he says they're going to burn in hell if they don't repent. The other boy, Micah, his name is Micah. He gets angry. He's bigger than the boy with the glove, 14 and muscled, and he walks over and pushes the minister. He threatens to hurt the minister. Father Gabriel is the minister's name. He pushes him down, telling him to leave them alone. Then Dunstan's eyes went far away, but Hammarskjöld jumped a little when he flinched. What happened? The minister, Father Gabriel, he shot Micah. Micah fell down, and he didn't get back up. The minister panicked. He hadn't meant to kill him, but now... Dunstan shuddered again, crying out as he popped his fist into the glove faster. He shot the boy with the glove, too. Then what happened? Hammarskjöld asked. He needed to know so he could get some justice for those boys. He buried them in the field. He buried them deep. The glove slipped off the kid's hand when he died, and the man who found it, he couldn't find them because they were buried so deep. They never suspected the minister. He showed up to help look, but he knew where they were all along. He knew why. Why didn't he tell? Why didn't he just tell? Dunstan was crying. His sightless eyes were weeping freely, and Hammarskjöld took the glove off him and threw it back onto the desk. Dunstan shook again and looked around, finally finding the little man as he wiped his eyes. I don't like this game. I never see anything nice. It's always terrible stuff. I know, Dr. Hammarskjöld said, but now I can get justice for those boys and make sure that man never hurts anyone else again. Won't do any good. There will always be another one. Another dead kid, another hurt person, another man just looking for someone to put in the ground. Dr. Hammarskjöld started to pat his hand, but thought better of it. God only knew what Dunstan could get if he touched him. Think of it as a service to the dead, then. That boy's family can have some closure, and he can be put to rest. Dunstan nodded. I think I need to visit the bathroom. Did you have anything else for me today? Hammarskjöld checked his watch. It was nearly lunchtime, and He shook his head at how time flew. It seemed he had just finished breakfast, but it was nearly noon, and they had solved 3 missing persons cases and 2 murders. Quite a day already. No, you can take the rest of the day off if you need to. Check with the minder and make sure there's nothing else. Dunstan nodded and left through the side door. Hammershoal had another of his experiments with the string boy, Gerald, later, and he was curious to see what could be made of it. They had tried some mazes, but the results had been mixed. He could avoid dangers well enough, but he couldn't follow the strings to any particular target. They really just seemed to lead him to his destination, but they were constant in that direction. Hammershoal saw no real utility in them, other than leading Gerald to whatever his final destination was. Hammershoal sighed. He hoped it wasn't leading him towards being just another item on this table, for Dunstan to read like a book of secrets. Gerald heard the door open and tried to pluck up his courage. The purple string was still firmly jutting from the door, and he could see it following the boy in the sneakers as he approached the urinal. It was Dunstan, it had to be, but he didn't know how to begin to tell him what he knew. Gerald didn't even know if he should tell him, but he knew it was information he needed. Gerald had heard something interesting, and he knew it would solve the problems Dunstan and his friends were having. He and Rebecca had been in the library yesterday when it happened. Rebecca was working her way through Eclipse, the vampire books that had her attention lately, and Gerald was looking for something to hold his own interest. The strings weren't much use when it came to picking books, and he was stalking the shelves when he overheard a conversation that the speakers were trying to keep away from the others. "Why don't you just say you're sorry and come be part of the group too?" someone was whispering. Whoever they were whispering to had scoffed. "Apologize? Apologize for what? She comes in here and thinks she's such hot shit. I haven't done anything to say sorry for." "It would bring peace, Chandra. You could come be part of our group instead of being alone all the time. We don't hate you, but you have to let go of this crap with Masha." "I don't think so. But when she kicks you both to the curb, I guess you can come be my friends again." "Whatever, Chandra. We tried to be nice, but if you're going to be like this, then we don't want to be any part of it." They had walked away, not even noticing him there, and when Chandra had whispered to herself, it was almost too low to catch. "See if you want to be friends with her when she's a drooling vegetable. A couple more nights without sleep, and she'll be nutso." Gerald had checked, and sure enough, the red string running towards her had let him know that the girl with the platinum hair was dangerous. He had thought about it long and hard, and now Gerald thought for sure that Chandra was the one sending the dreams. He didn't understand why, but he rarely understood why people did what they did. She was a bully, he supposed, and she really didn't need a good reason. Chandra didn't like Masha, felt she had stolen her friends, and she meant to have them back, even if it cost a little girl her sanity. He heard the water running in the sink and realized it was now or never. He opened the door and found himself eye to eye with the boy, Dunstan having turned to leave as Gerald came out. Dunstan jumped a little, clearly not expecting anyone else to be in here, and laughed as he looked at Gerald's somber face. "Jeez, you scared me. I didn't know anyone else was in here. It's all yours if you need the sink. I was just..." "No, sorry," Gerald started, not really sure how to begin. "I was actually hoping to talk with you." Dunstan kept his smile in place, but it looked a touch unsure of itself. "Well, you picked a heck of a place for it. Must be pretty important to ambush a guy in the can." Gerald closed his eyes, collecting his thoughts before he blew this. This was important, maybe the most important thing he would do with his life, and he couldn't let it slip by. The purple string had him unsure of himself in a way that he rarely was, but he had to power through it. "I know something about your friend, the little girl, and why she's having nightmares." "Oh?" Dunstan said, his smile turning into something less than friendly. "Well, if you've got some idea, I'd love to hear it. I know she's keeping you guys awake too, but If it's another question about why we can't just gag her, then just... No, Gerald said. I think I know what's causing it, and I want to hear what you think about it. Dunstan nodded, opening the bathroom door and holding it open for him. Just so happens I have the afternoon off, and given that you were skulking in a bathroom, I can assume that you don't have anything particularly pressing either. Let's take a walk. You can tell me all about it. He and Gerald went to the media room, Gerald telling him what he suspected, and Dunstan putting the pieces together. By the time the bell rang for lunch, Dunstan had a pretty good idea of what they had to do, foremost among them being taking Gerald to the lunch table, so he could talk it over with his friends. You're still here. Thanks so much for joining us for tonight's spooky tale. If you'd like a little bit more spooky in your life, why not click on one of the videos that appears at the end of our story, or maybe head on over to one of our playlists where you can get your fill of spooky content. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, I've got a new book that's come out. If you'd like your own copy, there's a link below in the description where you can get your own copy of my spooky book. If you like what you see here on the channel and think you might like to support in a more monetized way, then why not come over to Patreon or become a member on YouTube? Speaking of, let's go ahead and thank our members now. Thanks to Civ Garstead, Unicorn Hollow, and Army Dude for being our Spooky Ghost contributors. Thanks to Janet, Lee Kendall, Saikat, Ronda J, Sue Casper, and Valinator for being our Spooky Skeleton contributors. And thanks to Oh Snap, Hi Stacy, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Cinnamon Fox, Grim Reaper, TomBoiTopUwU, and Queen Sheebah for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. And a big thanks to Scott Donahue for being our Ghostly Writer tier contributor. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you'd like to support the channel, then come on down to Patreon or become a member on YouTube. Spooky Skeleton tier contributors, that's our $5 tier, get their spooky 12 hours early at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to 8:30 p.m. My time, of course. And while Ghostly Reading is only a tier that's available on Patreon, you get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one on your doorstep in, hopefully, a timely manner. If you'd like a book, we have many on Amazon. I've got links below if you'd like to follow those. Should get you to my page so you can buy any one of my 8 books I believe we're up to now. I'm sure they'd look really nice on your shelf, and I'll sign them for you if you can find me out in the wild. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.